Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Moen After Dark on the College Football Mafia Network. I am, of course, your host, Moen, joined by my co-host from CFB Express, Rockin' Rant, Miami alum. He's going to have some things to say about the Hurricanes today. Crazy
Wonder
weekend of
why.
crazy weekend of college football. If you could watch it, three top
That's so
10
true.
teams fall, tumble, right before the CFP rankings. It late season chaos once again. Um,
Always.
always. Rock will rant a little bit about that, but let's say hello to some people first. Want to thank everybody for coming in here today. We're going to talk about Week 10 college football, some of the coaching changes that continue to happen. By the way, last week Brian Kelly was fired live on air while we were here. So if anybody else gets fired today, just let us know in the chat, please. We'll see if we can continue that curse. Buckshot Kids first. He says, "Oh hey, Moen, good to see you, Buckshot Kid." Movie Time Blue says, "Hi, I'm a YouTube TV customer. It was nice to enjoy one football weekend without SEC propaganda for a change." Listen, I'm a YouTube TV subscriber, man. I it was a little off-putting not getting to see certain games, but I'm standing with YouTube TV on this one.
Yeah,
Um,
I stole all of ESPN's crap. It didn't matter,
yeah,
right?
I,
I
I I'm standing with YouTube TV. It's Disney is trying to do this to push people to that ESPN app, and YouTube TV is fighting to keep rates down.
look. I mean, both of them suck. Let's just
Yeah,
put
they
it that
both
way.
suck,
But
but one sucks
ESPN's
less.
been doing this to everyone. Last year it was Spectrum. Half the reason why all of you guys are on YouTube is because they screwed and your cable rates went up. So it's.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to give in to the mouse. I'm going to cancel one and steal from the other if it comes down to it. I'll
okay,
pay my money to Surfshark for a VPN. I'll just keep hitting unmute and get a good pop up blocker.
there you go. Big Lubbock is first as always. Jan Hulk, all the way from Slovenia, says, "Hey all, Moen, today Bengal game was one of the best games I've ever watched. I feel so bad for all Bengals fans. Listen, man, I need to get the sounder that says, 'Don't cry for me, I'm already dead.'" Um, listen, it is what it is. Joe Flacco looks like he's back in college throwing that ball around. It does look like a college football offense being played out there, and that catch by T. Higgins was just insane. But again, the problem with the defense was Lou Anarumo, and they shipped him off to Indianapolis. And of course, we all know Indianapolis's defense is terrible over there. So we got Al Golden. I'm sure Rock and Rant can tell you a thing or two about Al Golden.
Are you kidding
Um,
me?
yeah, what a fantastic defensive coordinator. But it was an exciting game. I think in 42-47. Um, yeah, great game if you like offense. If you had the over, you you had to have won.
You could have banked some over for a rainy
I tell you, the
day.
only way I've been making money. Yeah, the only way I've been making money is taking prop bets on Cincinnati offensive players to score touchdowns. Because I'm certainly not doing it on college football. Skaven, yes, says hello, gentlemen. Good to see you, Skaven. Bob Swanger's in the house. Good to see you, Bob. Looked close for a half.
Hey, that sounds like Brian Kelly's been saying that all week.
Stephen Vitt stopping by for tonight. Hey guys, good to see you, Stephen. Hopefully the Halloween party there at Athens was a little calmer than usual. Mick Stevens, Frogman from Texas. Frogman's from Loveland, Ohio. That's where the official Frogman's from. Daniel Gygax, hi everyone. Thank you, Daniel, for crushing one of my parlays.
Way to keep the Big 12 chaos going, Mr. West Virginia.
Laura Weiss says, hey, y'all, she's got a big game coming up. That BYU game might determine who's going to be in the playoff.
Absolutely. And Laura, you should have your eyes trained on Wild Ute because he's talking too big about what could happen for the Big 12. And so if things start 2 weeks ago, there were 3 ACC teams possibly going to the college football playoff. So 2 weeks means a lot. I would keep your eyes on that he doesn't jinx you and the rest of the Big 12.
It's true. Caleb Ramirez is here. He says, "Hi, all. Sorry about the loss, Rock and Rant. Miami might need to think about changing the quarterback."
Do not agree with that. The if you got to watch the game, game never should have got to overtime. Carson actually was pretty efficient with the game. The one interception he had earlier was a complete drop pass by JoJo Trader, who looked good in the first time he got action, but that interception was definitely not on him. The one in overtime, not a great pass. Different thoughts as to whether or not that was his fault or the receiver didn't run the route. Either way, it's unacceptable. But the unacceptable was before they got to overtime. Should never
Yeah, it
have
should
been.
never have been in overtime. Expedition Greg's in the house. He says, "Hi, everyone. Good to see you, Expedition Greg. Thanks for
What's up,
jumping
man?
in." David Sabanosh is here. Got that Pisces profile picture, a fellow Pisces. He says, "Hi,
Same.
everyone. Good to see you." Yeah.
Now we get it.
Pisces
Now I
are
get
rule,
it,
man.
Moen. Now I get it.
Matt Schnuck, good evening. Good evening, Matt Schnuck. I think we got to everybody here. We got one super chat, and I'm going to let you roll this one into your rant, your thoughts on the Miami game, because that is going to be our top headline tonight. Just to recap, number 10, Miami loses to SMU at SMU in overtime, 20-26, following a Carson Beck interception in Miami's first overtime possession. Ryan Willie, the evil Badger, continues his evil shenanigans, and I will give you a shenanigan sounder here in a second. I believe the Hurricanes have been downgraded to a tropical storm.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
All right, Rock.
Well, I will just caution others, not Ryan, because he could say whatever he wants. He's donating. That I'm fine to take the grief back for Miami. It's totally cool. I got no problem with it. But I'd rather be a tropical storm than an in-ground sprinkler, which some of your programs are. And if your team hasn't won a national title since 2001, let alone 1983, just remember that Google's at my fingertips. So we could talk about relevancy anytime we want for anyone. That said, look, man, that game was. I'm not surprised at all at anything. Miami is 4-9 under Mario in November since he got there. If you add December, it probably gets a little bit worse. But honestly, the last 20 plus years, Miami in November, December is like a 53% winning percentage. It's 68% over. So even during the meh years, it's always been strong starts. I will never fall for it again, honestly. But nothing's going to change with Miami unless Mario decides to do something to change. Right, he's not getting fired. He's not even close to getting fired. He has raised the floor of the program in multiple ways, from recruiting to talent evaluation to getting more facilities done to getting booster support, all that other stuff. He has absolutely raised the floor. The problem, I think, for Miami is that the ceiling above the floor that Mario can create, the way he's doing things, is like only higher than an ant. Right? His game day abilities and the things that he's doing are clearly not getting over that next line, right? So, and there's a whole mixed world out there. There's those who think, well, Mario's micromanaging the coordinators, and that's why things are very static. And maybe that's true. I've heard people who have information, who have had very different opinions on that. Or maybe he's just not hiring the right coordinators. I don't really know, but it is a consistent pattern. So it's very frustrating. There's literally no excuse for Miami to have lost that game. They never should have gotten into overtime. There were so many other things. You can complain about the ACC refs, and the ACC refs suck, and there's like a massive gap between penalties in Miami and everybody else in the ACC. However, maybe that's actually on you and the coaching, and whatever you're doing isn't working in that regard. So maybe getting penalized more because you're causing more penalties, though there are some really bad breaks and bad calls. But after a few years, that's more of a trend than an aberration. So it sucks. It sucks. They might go 10-2. The most 2025 college football thing that could happen for Miami is to actually win out, which is plausible. I personally don't think they're going to. I think that they will lose 2 more games. That's my gut, just because the feeling around what has happened and what I'm seeing on the field. But if they did, they will go 10-2, and they will somehow lose out this last spot because more teams are going to lose in the college football playoffs from whatever the rankings are on Tuesday, and they will be out because of Notre Dame, even though they beat Notre Dame. Like, that's what will happen. I guarantee that's the world that will happen. And then I hope someone throws a shit bag at Jim Phillips. If you
And
want to
then
see
Jim
my full
Phillips will
rant,
Jim Phillips will grant Notre Dame some other special
yeah, he'll do
privilege.
something else. If you want to see my real-time rant from yesterday, right after the game, I'll drop a link.
Please, yes,
in
put
the
that
chat.
link in there. Go watch it. Watch an exasperated rockin' rant, walking around the neighborhood, ranting. I'm sure people were just saying that's a normal day in LA, but
It was a beautiful day out. I'm not going to lie. It
was. It
turned
looked
into a good
nice.
night if you lived in Los Angeles, as the
it
fireworks were
wasn't
going
bad
off
here. It was in the 60s
for the crazy
here.
World Series game. But yeah, man, I will.
Yeah,
My motto for next year. So I might pick Miami to be big in the preseason rankings next year. I might have expectations, but I will always be wearing and carrying the banana in the tailpipe gift from Beverly Hills Cop until November 28th going forward.
Okay. I was going to say, first of all, you're a college football sicko. You know you're going to have high hopes for your team in September, August,
for sure.
late August, September. The penalties. Who are you assigning those penalties to? Do you think that's poor coaching, or do you just
Well,
think
let's put it
that's
this way.
player?
In theory, let me ask you a question. In theory, like which position room on the Miami Hurricanes do you think would, based off of who the head coach is, should have the biggest accountability? You would think on paper.
Offensive line.
What if I told you that every starting offensive lineman, I believe, except for maybe the center, including ones who came in, all had an offsides penalty? Do you know how hard that is to do?
I would believe it.
Well, that's what happened. I don't know about
Yeah,
the
that's
center.
what
So to me, it's them. Like whatever coaching you're doing isn't working. And yes, the ACC refs have called some stuff. They picked up flags that they shouldn't have. Miami basically lost that game if you missed it because at the end of the game, Mario and his time management decides to call a timeout right as it's like I think it was might have even been fourth or it was 3rd and 20 for SMU. And he calls a timeout, but Lightfoot, one of the edges, doesn't really hear it. He holds up at the last minute, but he already makes contact with the quarterback, doesn't let him fall to the ground, and that's passing a personal foul, and that essentially helped SMU massively at the end. So he overthinks things that way. Miami had them on their heels. It was like 3rd and long or 4th and long. I can't even remember anymore. But the offensive line is the issue on the penalties for the most part. It's pre-snap penalties. So that's not a ref thing, right? Like you're offsides
Right.
or you're not offsides, right?
It's
You
a
either
false
move
start
or
or
you
it's not
don't.
a false start. Right.
Right? So you can do all of that. Holding, I know you could go either way with it, but either way, like Miami is 133, I think, out of 136 teams in penalties. And you can't be the guy who's going on all the time saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And we got to do this, and we have to be disciplined and all of this. And that's what you put on the field. And granted, that is also a Miami thing for forever in some ways, but not to that degree and not that consistently and not in key situations. There's a coaching problem. Whatever they're doing hasn't worked. And when you give up 100 yards, that's essentially a touchdown a game, right? That's essentially what Miami's doing. 100 yards and penalties a game, like on paper, equates to somewhere around 7 points a game. Miami hasn't lost a game in 2 years that was more than 5 points. So the discipline's not there. And I start with the offensive line because that's supposed to be the crown jewel. It would also help if they could get people knocked off the ball who are not even close to them talent-wise on 3rd and 1.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have to agree with you here because, yes, Miami historically has penalties. It's because of aggressive play. The offensive line has penalties, and they're not aggressive plays. It's not that they're being too aggressive in blocking or too aggressive in, getting the hands up high on the shoulder pads or anything like that. It's procedural penalties.
Yeah.
It's offsides. It's false starts.
And let me put this up. Clint Moses, this is the weird thing. This isn't actually the problem with Mario. Mario wins the big games. He beats Notre Dame. He beats Florida. He beats Texas A&M. He beats Florida State for the most part, other than his first year. That's not the problem. The problem is the games he shouldn't lose. Those are the games that he loses, right? And what happens in later in November, the part that I will agree with you on, is it's not the in-game adjustments, because I think Heatherman on defense has done some good in-game adjustments. I think overall, though, what my opinion is, when Miami has more to play for, more possible, Mario plays safe, right? And then people see the tendencies from the season, and they catch up because he starts playing safe. Cam Ward was an exception, and probably half that time was because Cam Ward was checking out or whatever safe calls were coming in, just to do what he was going to do. So, I don't think it's a Carson Beck issue. Yes, he threw 4 interceptions in the Louisville game. But even with that, they were in a position to win that game, and they still blew it at the end with some questionable calls. I'm not even that pissed by some of the comments that people are putting out for Carson on what he did or didn't say, because people are taking 7 seconds out of a 1-minute answer, and it makes it sound worse than it is. Like, I don't really have that issue. People want to go die on that hill, can. But yes, I would say, Clint, you're right about the adjustments, but it's more like the season-long trend when it gets further down the road, when Miami is ranked number 2, ranked number 7. That's when those things happen, because people know what they're going to do, and Mario seemingly, to me, gets into a shell. And whether that's him telling his offensive coordinator to do that, or them just feeling it, there's something culture-wise going on there that doesn't make any sense. I could accept if I can handle the Louisville loss more, because Brom is a great coach and he had scheme there too. But Miami did not get outcoached by Rhett Lashley this weekend, and they don't lose the bigger games. Like, that's not the problem. It's losing to Georgia Tech and Syracuse last year, and not to take anything away from them. And Georgia Tech has obviously been a good team this year, and SMU and Louisville are good teams. But Miami has lost, I think, 6 or 7 double-digit favorite games in the last 3 years. Nobody has that. Nobody. That's
absolutely
a unicorn
and
for Mario.
Let me put it this way: he wasn't the coach at Miami, but Cristobal does have a win over Ohio State, so he obviously can win the big game.
Yeah, I wish that was the problem, because then you could just say it's a talent
But we'll
issue.
move on.
We're good. This is why I'm doing a national football show with you guys. This is why College Football Express, so that when Miami shits the bed at some point, I'm still vested in the sport that I love.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, it's the month of November, which means we get to give away some memberships. And we're going to give away 5 of them right now to the channel members. We'll have a new members only video this Thursday. And those memberships went to Chris G, Tide Grad, Ramblin' Ryan, Laura Wellborn, and Gabe H. Congratulations, guys. You are now members of the College Football Mafia.
Those are some new names to me, for the most part, right?
Haven't seen them around before, so always good. Always good when we have new names.
And this is Miami's new mascot, by the way, where the Ibis is going to go take a vacation. And when November comes around, it'll be the Groundhog Day 2 movie that you've always wanted, except for it'll be in the form of Miami.
I was going to say, do groundhogs even live in Florida?
No, but we have zoo. You guys have crocodiles in your zoo and stuff. We just bring them down.
Okay.
It'll be, instead of Poxitani Phil, it'll be Palmetto Phil.
I just like the idea of your zoo being filled with things like gophers and badgers and groundhogs, and our zoos being filled with exotic animals.
It's crazy. And neither of them are mine. I'm in LA. We have all our other crazy crap.
Skaven Yes says, I feel your pain, Rock. Obviously, Nebraska dropped another heartbreaker to a top 25 opponent. They lost to USC, and on a sad note, they lost their quarterback for the rest of the season to a broken fibula, I believe.
Hey, that's terrible. And I do have a question for Skaven and any other Nebraska fans that might come in. Do you feel glad and relieved that Matt Rule signed an extension, or do you feel that the football gods keep raining on your parade? I know how I would feel, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, Stephen Vitt says it's a good year for coaches to get fired. By the way, we'll go ahead and bring this up right now. Hugh Freeze is out at Auburn. Mike Loxley has mutually agreed to part ways with Maryland. 2 coaches down. Let us know if a third one gets fired. I'm looking at you, Stoops, at Kentucky. Um, so
Hey, Moen, don't you think it's amazing that Hugh Freeze has had the career he had? You would think somebody who couldn't figure out as a high school coach that Michael Orr was good and needed to have Sandra Bullock tell him how to coach him up would never have landed a college job.
well, we're not even going to get into that blindside story because yeah, just read into that, guys. That's a weird situation. But yes, we've had some coaches fired. Bob Swanger says, Moen, at least we won the 2 hockey games against Ohio State. Congratulations. I don't know if you saw it. I put it on Twitter. They were having a little fun at Ohio Stadium on Saturday at Jim Knowles' expense, flashing images of him to boos and then images of Matt Patricia to cheers. So it's just the right amount of petty. But if you just saw the score on that, you probably thought that was a lot closer game than it ended up being. Bad fumble by C.J. Donaldson at the end of the first half. Let Penn State get a short field touchdown, and it was 14-17, and then it was over. Stormy Cyclone, good to see you, sir. He says, hi, guys. Another coach bites the dust. Will it end soon? Nope. I put this in the group chat, and I'll say it here. Kurt Signetti, Clark Leah, guys at these smaller programs that have flipped these programs and turned them around, everybody's looking for that guy.
Yeah,
and everybody's going to fire.
Even people's lives up.
Yeah, even mediocre coaches are going to get fired in the pursuit of guys like that. And I just don't think there's that many of those guys out there.
Hey, Moen, have you seen? I've only seen. Everybody keeps referencing Mike Loxley leaving, but they're all referencing the exact same tweet. No one else, like On3 or anybody else, has said anything that I've seen. It's all this one guy, Rob something.
As far as I know, he did agree to mutually leave. Right. I assume that'll happen, but I was actually told that this morning. So I don't know when his first post was. But that was something I heard through the grapevine this morning.
His post was 8 or 9 hours ago, but I have not seen anybody else on 24/7 CBS Sports comment that like anything has mutually agreed to or is being worked on, like we saw last week with Brian Kelly. So I keep your eyes out if you do see that, or if you've seen some other post other than the one guy from Rob Reinhart who has some degree of following, but I don't know whether I don't know that he's credible or not credible. I'm not saying he isn't.
Clint Moses, 12-pack champs. Yes. That one game championship season. Bob Swanger says Rocket was a good rant. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to put you in timeout. Let me see if I can pin that. We'll pin that message to the top there. That's a link to Rock's full rant from yesterday. Walking around, a little short of breath. I'm worried about your fitness. I don't know. I'm waiting for the Moen rant on the Bengals today. You can keep waiting, Stormy. I said I got to add the sounder from The Simpsons. Don't cry for me. I'm already dead. This franchise has shown me nothing. If not the ability to just be absolutely terrible in leadership. It's never going to get better until Mike Brown is ousted. It's never going to get better while it remains in that family. He is not Paul Brown.
The Jets were at least kind enough to me to be on a bye week the week that Miami lost again.
Well, there you go. But it hurts more when you watch the Bengals and their offense is so super productive and like defense is just MIA. And again, you can speak to that. Al Golden. Fantastic. Glad we got Al Golden. Thank God we got rid of Lou Anarumo, who went to Indianapolis and did nothing. And we got
Al Golden. Much of Al Golden was Marcus Freeman?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Al Golden was probably a great linebacker coach.
Well, he wasn't even a defensive coach before he came to Miami. I want to say he was like a tight ends coach. And I know some coaches coach multiple positions on offense and defense, but it is a little bit rare to like go back and forth once you hit like the high level colleges and professional levels.
Vanderbilt falling to Texas is very Vanderbilt of them. You're absolutely right. Despite a 21-point fourth quarter surge, Vanderbilt falls short. And it's not like Texas didn't do anything to not help them. Last final onside kick, Texas touches the ball. The ball is sitting there on the sidelines waiting for Vanderbilt to recover it. Vanderbilt knocks it out of bounds. Game ends on a 3-point swing. I can't put a video of it up, but I will tell you this game had a very controversial call because this screwed up a lot of people's money on the game. If you didn't know, the spread starting on Saturday morning, it flipped to 3.5 Texas because of all the money being placed on Texas. That 2-point conversion being ruled good basically allowed Vanderbilt to cover that spread. And
I was very happy.
Yes, that upset, that made him happy. That upset me because I had Texas at 3.5. I placed a bet that morning. So, but it was okay because Notre Dame had already screwed up that parlay for me. And that's what you get for betting on Notre Dame. Hey, got my membership yesterday. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think Becky Go Huskies gave those out on Friday. So make sure you thank Becky the next time you see her. Antoine Johnson, new member. He's been a member for a while. Thank you, Antoine. Good to see you. Hope your wife's doing well, sir. Pit Snipe Husker says we just can't have nice things.
I do like the Black Union.
Yeah, you got to feel for Nebraska, man.
I do.
Gotta feel
I
for
would
him.
not want Matt Rule to be my coach. I think the Penn State fans got lucky.
I don't think he was
totally
ever going
fine
to
as
Penn
coach.
State.
He's totally
Yeah,
fine as a coach, but that's not Nebraska aspirations.
North Carolina State Wolfpack outlasted Georgia Tech and won 48-36. Third loss for a top 10 team this week. Georgia Tech has been dancing a dangerous line all season. This time it caught up to them. North Carolina State got out in front and never looked back.
Yeah, Doran is good for these. That's why he gets survived as often as he has, you know. But look, in some ways, it was worth it. Just in case you have seen our friend Rec talk on this channel, he was growing the world's worst porn stash during the win streak, and he had to shave it off today, and he did it on video. So if you want to laugh after the show, go check out Rec Talk shaving it. But look, North Carolina State has a really good quarterback. I don't know that he'll have that quarterback next year. It's a quarterback, C.J. Bailey, that a lot of Miami fans are mad that Mario didn't recruit way back when. He was the quarterback for this guy that Moen knows really well. He's got Jeremiah Smith. He didn't get the proper attention. He wound up going to NC State, and he's been thriving. I bet you that he will be potentially one of the top 2 or 3 portal quarterbacks should he decide to do that. And they took care of the fact that Georgia Tech's defense is suspect, and they played somebody whose offense is getting hot. I think NC State is possibly dangerous for Miami next week with the way that offense is playing, though Miami's bigger problem is Miami's offense, not so much the defense.
Go Black 45's here. We're going to talk about this game next. I bet Gunnar Stockton is hearing it from the D-Gens for that kneel. Again, I'd already lost that parlay, so I didn't really care. But, yeah, if you did not catch...
I liked him. He's my favorite player in Georgia now.
Yeah. If you did not catch it, he decided to take a knee instead of running in for the easy touchdown and just bleed out the clock. Ended up making Florida cover that spread. A lot of people had money on Georgia, so a lot of people were upset by that. But it was the right call for him. For the team, it was the right call to make. You bleed out the clock, you ensure victory. Matt Rule's extension was just at market necessity. He is making progress, and he's got some tough off-season assistant questions to answer. I think next season is better, even facing a schedule. Better get Tony White back after Norville gets the axe.
Well, if Penn State though? I mean, is like
What do you
chicken
think?
or
You think
egg?
Norville's gone?
I don't think Norvell's gone.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I could be wrong. And I'm not even just talking that I wish that he won't be gone, because I clearly, as a Miami fan, would love Norvell to stay. But I just don't know if he's going to go. What if they crushed Wake Forest yesterday? I didn't see that coming, because Wake's been playing really good football, and Florida State looked like the team that played Alabama and blew out their two cupcakes the way you would expect them to do against Wake Forest. So when maybe they're going to do the whole Billy Napier thing. What if Florida State has a complete chance of winning out? They do. And then the question is, now that you have 3 prime SEC jobs already, plus Penn State, do you want to come out and be maybe 5th-ish, 6th-ish in the pecking order, depending upon what else comes? I don't know. I mean, I don't wish that on Florida State fans. I'm sure they all want to change there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't stay. To me, it's, from an outside perspective, I could see it going either way. What about you?
I'm in the same boat. I think he sticks around for one more year, but it's only because there's nobody available. There are too many high-profile jobs out there.
I mean,
You
there's
got
plenty of people
LSU.
available. There's no safe bets available if they don't
There's
want
no
a good
safe-
G5
right.
coordinator.
Right. There's only so many big fish out there that you can catch.
But they could catch a Will Stein.
They could catch a
Schumann.
Will Stein, maybe, but you're taking a risk on an assistant there. I don't think Will's had any head coaching experience. Same thing with Brian Hartline. You can take a shot at Brian Hartline, but first full year as an offensive coordinator, sole offensive coordinator, doesn't have any head coaching experience. So we mentioned Clark Leah. Does Clark Leah leave Vanderbilt? Brent Key, does Brent Key leave Georgia Tech? Those guys know what it's like to recruit in the South. They know how to turn programs around. I could see them being prime SEC targets. I think Deion leaves at the end of the season. He looks tired and ready to leave. I haven't watched enough of their games to know. We will be picking them in the West Virginia game this weekend, so I'll get a good look at him then. But if he does leave, I don't blame him. I've been through cancer treatments. I completely understand if after looking at that and his kids leaving through there, I can completely understand him choosing to leave. But I don't think he will. I think he does want to stay for that quarterback that they signed, the 5-star kid.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting forced out. I think he might get forced out though, right? Health-wise, might force him out.
Yeah. Like Colorado's not going to push him out. Definitely
Correct.
not.
No.
Moen, did you hear Bob Trumpy died? I did. Great tight end, great Bengals, great broadcaster. My grandpa Blair always used to say that goddamn Trumpy. Antoine Johnson says, "Hey everyone, good to see you, Antoine.
What's up, man?
Big 12 coaches are ripe for the picking. Imagine what they could do with more resources. Can't afford big contracts or big buyouts." I don't necessarily disagree with that, Clint, but there is this sense of loyalty, it seems, from Big 12 coaches. Matt Campbell's had quite a few opportunities, and he stayed, stuck it out.
That said, right now, if your coach gets to be added to somebody's hot board, do not bet on them that following week, because they're all losing.
It's true. Some are all lost this week too. They got
Summerall
absolutely
lost,
destroyed.
Key lost, Chuck Lee lost, Campbell lost. Right. The same thing happened a couple weeks back after Franklin lost. You had Rule lose as an example. That might be the best bet you can
Rule.
have right now.
Yep. But I have to think, if you're Matt Campbell, I think you've taken Iowa State, and he's a great coach, and what he's done at Iowa State consistently is impressive.
For sure.
Kurt Signetti, I'm not saying what he's done isn't impressive, but it absolutely is. What Clark Lea has done at Vanderbilt is absolutely impressive, but Campbell's been doing that for like 10 years at Iowa State.
10 years with an AD that talks about not having money regularly in press conferences.
Right. If you've got the opportunity to take a job like a Penn State, I have to think at this point in Matt Campbell's career, I know he's turned down NFL jobs. I understand that. But I have to think that Matt Campbell, if Penn State offers, he would take that job.
Yeah, I mean, he does feel more like a Big Ten coach than one of the SEC jobs, and that could just be me not paying attention to what he could do with different types of talent-based access. But he just feels like he feels like a Penn State choice. Like, I think he was a better choice for Penn State than Rule would have been, despite the alumni status there.
Yeah. And again, we talked about this. Some people are willing to leave their alumni for better jobs. Jonathan Smith took Michigan State. Better job. He hasn't done very much with it, but
I just think that's to me, I think that's a massive outlier, though. Like, what was happening to his school at the time?
True.
Right?
True.
It's very different. I think, to me, I don't think that Chuck Lee's going anywhere. I don't think that Brom or Key is going anywhere, except for maybe the NFL one day. I could see those, but I don't see the others. I don't think my gut, and I don't know crap, but my gut is that Kenny Dillingham doesn't leave Arizona State unless the leverage, all of these guys can leverage their schools to say, give me more for my assistance pool, give me more money, right? But I don't think they'll necessarily leave because they're getting $9 million versus $10.5 million, as long as the program's being funded, especially Brom, because his blood goes through that school a lot differently. And he's actually not that great at dealing with the booster world, right? So the Southeastern Conference doesn't seem like a great place for him to go. Dillingham, I kind of think, unless Arizona State doesn't pony up to keep advancing things so that the floor keeps growing as he tries to eclipse last year's ceiling, I still think he would more likely stay, but I think you have to know whether or not Arizona State is as committed as I believe that Louisville and Vanderbilt at a minimum seem to be. I think Georgia Tech is making progress that way as well, but I don't know. Maybe everybody has a number. I definitely have a number. I would sell out Miami for an extra $5 million, just to be clear.
And again, I will tell this Stormy Cyclone. I see you in chat. Yeah, you can't begrudge people for taking a better job, making more money. If the NFL came tomorrow and offered Ryan Day a very lucrative position as a head coach in the NFL, I would not begrudge Ryan Day from taking that job. He's won a national championship at Ohio State. He wants to advance his career to the next level. It would be winning a championship in the NFL. So please, if Matt Campbell does leave, don't begrudge Matt Campbell. And I say that to all coaches. If Kenny Dillingham leaves, please don't begrudge that. Because, I mean, outside of BYU and Texas Tech, Clint Moses is accurate here. There's not enough resources in the Big 12. Just there's not.
Yeah, even some of these ACC schools, they're more of choices to not spend versus the access to them, right? So they have to decide that. But who can step up and compete with Texas Tech in the Big 12? It would be amazing if somebody can. It only really takes one who's going to be committed for a while to do that and wants to throw out that money. I would love to see it. I'd love to see these coaches stay. I love watching the Big 12. So
I enjoy watching the Big 12 too. It's not a matter of that. It's just the resources aren't there yet. Until you can get consistent resources, that's going to be a problem.
And but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. I know this team. I can tell you about it.
That Nebraska game was a great setting with the blackout and logo on the field black. Unfortunately, the USC running game is a thing of beauty.
Someone needs to tell Lincoln Riley that. He almost went away from it at one point.
I hated the black Nebraska stuff. I hate when Ohio State wears those black uniforms. It's just they're not part of our school's black shirts. I get the black shirts underneath. Cool. Totally understand that. Black uniforms, watching the Nebraska Memorial Stadium, just absolutely clad in black for a night game. I don't know.
But
Just it
is it,
doesn't. It just
with
seems off to
Nebraska,
me.
like aren't they an exception because of the history of
The black shirts.
yeah.
Yeah, but see, the black shirts were underneath.
I
So I mean,
know, but you can't like show
it
off
just
the legend of the black shirt by telling everyone
yeah,
our team is wearing black shirts tonight under their red jersey you see underneath.
eh, it seems off to me. Seems off.
What seems off to me
Seems
is
like
like
alternative
a
universe.
puke camouflage uniform with
Oh,
no colors
yes.
or no even connection.
Yeah, those weren't very good. Now, see, I like Miami's black uniforms. Miami black uniforms were fire.
Yeah, the Miami Knights ones are great.
Yeah. Al Golden was the linebacker coach for Penn State, then D coordinator for Virginia, then Temple head coach, then Miami head coach.
Yeah, I got confused. He was a tight end, and he played tight end for Penn State, and then his first assistant job for the Lions was as their tight ends coach for a year or two before he switched over to the defensive side. So I had that order reversed. But he was a tight end in college as a player.
Absolutely. And if Penn State wants Al Golden, they can have him. I'll even throw in. I'll chip in at this point.
I have not seen him on the hot board.
I was pretty impressed with the blackout show. USC's D-backs were tough. Kudos to them. And King ran the ball hard. Even that even that Tennessee game with the black uniforms. I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Seems unnatural. I saw someone on X say the Florida State Clemson game will be a Nickelodeon plus next weekend. I didn't even know we were up to plus on Nickelodeon.
But I still think that actually gets a Nielsen rating. But that game I believe is actually on the ACC network. So the irony is that they're not going to get rated.
Well, the irony is we're picking that game this weekend. So get ready. I don't even know what the spread's going to be, but get ready.
I think they're not. I think they're both
Figure
going to
out.
settle off the field.
It's a negotiated forfeit. They'll sign it at center field. And yeah, they'll just flip. They'll just the coin flip. I'll say coin flip calls it.
Yeah, the Clemson will come out as like a soldier, and they'll meet, representative from the Seminole Nation, and someone will take the field and declare themselves the winner.
UVA is playing with fire, being top spot in the ACC, even though in recent weeks not playing as good as they could earlier in the season. Yeah, that was an interesting game against Cal yesterday. Again, as soon as I tuned in, Cal threw an interception, and it caused the end of the game.
I really thought that Virginia would go out to Cal and lose that game because they've been playing with fire. Let's look ahead at their schedule. So Virginia, they had 3 games. They have 3 games left. They play Wake, who had been playing great prior to getting boat raced in Tallahassee. They are playing Duke, who just beat Clemson, so that could be a pretty important game for Virginia. And then the last game is Virginia Tech, who has played better since Pry got fired. And, of course, it's always an in-state rivalry game, so who knows. But those are their 3 games. I thought they were going to lose to Cal. I don't know that I see them losing 2 games, but I could see them losing one of those 3.
Is it not possible that Matt Campbell is at his apex and right where he needs to be? He's a consistent contender. The Big 12 needs it. I'm not disagreeing that the Big 12 needs it. I 100% agree. Matt Campbell is a shining star in the Big 12. But at the end of the day, I don't think he can win a national championship at Iowa State. And I don't think Iowa State fans would be offended saying that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and Stormy's in the chat, but he didn't have to donate like Mike Norvell did, which was basically a pay cut for this past year.
Right.
But there was something about him taking less money to stay, if I'm not mistaken.
He did to pay assistants more.
To pay assistants more. So his market price right now for any of the jobs that he's being considered for outside of the Big 12 are anywhere from $3 to $6 million more a year for him. And for most of us in this chat, 1 year's worth of his bump up and raise is, close to a lot of people's, lifetime earnings can be. So if not even getting that high, some people for sure higher, but it's hard to, turn away generational wealth forever. Not that he's poor.
Ryan Lee says there's no mention of Loxley on Big Ten Network. Okay, again, I heard that rumor this morning.
Owen. It's just I don't think it did happen yet.
You're probably right. It's probably still ongoing. But they made a point of pointing out, I believe it was on the Indiana game, the coaching tree of Nick Saban, and like everybody was a winner except Mike Loxley. John Dries here. He says, "Hey y'all, guns up!
Huge game,
big game, biggest game of the weekend. BYU at Texas Tech. It's probably going to decide a playoff spot." I don't say wreck 'em because I think it's more of a Georgia Tech thing. I'm getting nervous. Keep hearing that Dabo to LSU is gaining momentum. It's more than the winning the Natties. He fits a certain ideology that will make others more comfortable. Oh God, no, not him.
Hey, go. I got to get your take. I know LSU politics in Louisiana are a different breed, and I know we're outsiders from afar. But that's why I would love your take on the degree of 1 to 10 of a shit show. Number 10 being the Jurassic Park meme, and number 1 being just a little turd that a small dog does. Which one is it? Because it looks bonkers crazy from outside. The governor thinks he's Trump, and he doesn't have anywhere that charisma. What are you guys feeling in there? I want to see the Netflix series one day on This Week in LSU football history.
Listen, I said it on Friday, John Gruden. I think John Gruden takes that job. If you're a college coach, why would you go to LSU? Look at the absolute shit show that has become. I mean,
and Dabo, if Dabo happens, the only coach I could think of that is as contentious with the media on a regular basis and is disliked by the media as broadly as Brian Kelly is would be in God's name, image, and likeness, Dabo Swinney.
Yeah. Which Dabo getting knocked out of Clemson is gaining traction too. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's got Bowden-type status there that
he does.
I think he's going to be safe there as long as he wants to continue to be there.
Though Bowden did get forced out the last year he wanted to be there still. So.
Yeah, I know.
But the age difference is still significantly different.
Gruden at LSU would be fired. He's mentioned one in a coach in the SEC. You've got the Florida jobs open. I think Jed Fish takes that Florida job. Alma mater thing we've talked about. And I think they're going to have a hard time getting a big hire at LSU now because you don't know who you're answering to. Are you answering to the governor? Are you answering to the president of the university, your athletic director, the state legislature? Who are you answering to at LSU?
And LSU can do all the press conferences it wants saying that our interim athletic director has full authority to go hire people. But none of those coaches are going to want to know, are going to deal with that fact of the ambiguity of who their actual boss is going to be. I just don't see it. But then again, they might not have to decide for a second, right? Because a lot of their prime coaches could be playoff contenders, could take a second. You might have to sacrifice one random recruiting year, but also it seems like LSU's recruiting class is not falling apart because LSU, a lot of people who want to go to LSU are going to LSU, and they might even be more attracted to playing for LSU now that Brian Kelly isn't there, as opposed to others who decommit en masse when the head coach leaves. So they may be able to wait longer and survive it, even if maybe it only damages the portal time for acquisition if your prime candidates are there, and maybe you land an athletic director that people trust enough can keep the distance between, the governor and them.
Stormy Cyclone with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Stormy Cyclone. I can possibly see Campbell moving. He did interview for the Bears in January. Let me go back and correct a statement. I said you can't begrudge Campbell for leaving. If he left for the Chicago Bears, you could begrudge him. I would give you that one. I would give you that one. So thank you for the super chat, sir. Let's give you a little.
Stop! He's already dead.
That was my Cincinnati Bengals today against the Chicago Bears, who I just insulted. So, but I'm still going to continue to insult them. LSU is just open about the inner workings and dysfunction. Look at that successful lawsuit that physician brought against the Penn State football program to see how schools are keeping theirs hidden.
There's a different level of this, dude.
Gundy needs a job. Oregon State's open. I'm just saying. He's already got a bunch of orange polos. Let's make that happen. I just dread the thought of Iowa State hunting for the next head coach. It's tough out there. I think you would probably just take one of the assistants. Move one of the assistants up.
The best position. You might get actually the smart hire, which is to get the next up and coming assistant either from on staff or somewhere else.
How hard is it going to be to get the two teams for the ACC championship game? I think Greg texted me last night. He goes, something about the ACC championship. I said, the real question is, who ends up playing in the ACC championship game at this point?
Well, here's a question. How many teams are undefeated in the SEC?
0.
How many? So the ACC actually has somebody in conference undefeated. You know, the SEC has a bunch of 1 and 2 lost teams in conference, right? So I don't really get that it's that different. It's just that the players have changed. It's who you expect. But a few weeks ago, we thought that Alabama was desperately out of it after Florida State, right? And now they're clearly.
Joe Black is correct. It's Texas A&M is undefeated in SEC.
Undefeated. Sorry, you're right. Correct. But I mean, the rest of it is the same thing. Like, who's going to be? You got a bunch of 1 and 2 lost teams. You still got 3 or 4 weeks to go. The way this season is going, it's going to be nuts. Who winds up being there?
Marcus William, who's been a member for 9 months. Do you see the CFP rankings having SEC bias like the AP given its affiliation with ESPN? No, I see it having SEC bias because they accept, and I think that the SEC endorse those metric changes because they benefit the SEC. I see the SEC getting at least 4 teams into the college football playoff this season.
Oh yeah, and Marcus is right. Alabama too. I'm confusing their one loss versus a conference loss for Alabama. But there's some of the projections right now have the SEC getting 6 in.
Yeah, they could. They could. I think they're getting at least 4 in.
I think 4 is a lock. You know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say anything's a lock.
And nothing's a lock anymore.
Because there's still 3 or 4. Everyone's got 3 or 4 games left to play, and people are beating the crap out of each other. And the Big 12 chaos theory has expanded to basically every single conference, except for they got a Big 12 Coke Zero version for the Big 10 with Penn State shit in the bed. Other than that, there's a clear hierarchy in the Big 10. But the ACC is as crazy as the Big 12, and the SEC is pretty damn crazy, right? So maybe it's chalked the rest of the way, and it's a very straight Alabama, Texas A&M thing. But the jockeying for slots maybe 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the playoff for the SEC, there's a bunch of 1 and 2 lost teams right now. And that could impact whether or not the ACC and the Big 12 get more than 1 team. Because if those guys keep beating the crap out of each other and you have a lot of 3 lost teams, then we get back to where we were last year. Except for some of the 2 lost teams in the Big 12 and the ACC have stronger out-of-conference wins this time than they did last year to get leapfrogged over.
Absolutely. Good point. Pennsylvania governor is also involved in Penn State athletic decisions, but he at least has a filter. When asked about their feelings about it, even during Sandusky, same thing's true at Ohio State. Mike DeWine, Jim Jordan, that whole scandal at Ohio State, you can look that up. But you're right. They do it in the shadows. They are not out there showing their ass in public. and talking out of their ass in public, which the governor from Louisiana was very much doing.
Yeah, he didn't just do it at his press conference, right? He had a press conference about whether people are going to eat or not.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him a question, and then he went off, and then he didn't just leave it at that. He went on to 3 different radio shows. He went to Pat McAfee.
Yeah, he went on Pat McAfee and said that he needed somebody to win the BCS for him. Congratulations, LSU. You've won the BCS this year.
That was awesome. I'm like, did he just say BCS?
Yeah. Yeah. Moen, you were onto something with Notre Dame taking an ACC spot in the CFP this year is a good example. 100% agree with you, but it won't happen. They will continue to get their special treatment because Jim Phillips will continue to kiss their ass. The only way the Big gets 4 in is if Michigan wins out, including a win over Ohio State. You're probably right based on the brand.
I don't know. USC could get in.
Boy, it'd be rough. It'd be a hard road to hoe for USC to get in at this point. But like you said, with this chaos.
Well, let's just we'll take a look. I'll look at some stuff while we're talking here.
Okay.
Right? I mean, first of all, USC is ahead of Michigan in the AP poll, just by 1 spot. But let me look at this stupid shit. By the way, I'm whatever I pull up right now, rankings wise, is not because I buy it, because the fact that the ESPN FPI still has Penn State anywhere on their top 25 makes it completely ridiculous. But just for we got nothing until Tuesday. USC on the FPI is ahead of Michigan by multiple spots, as an example. They are right behind Texas A&M. Again, I'm not saying I think it's a good one. I'm just telling you what it says. Strength of record, crap. USC is a little bit behind Michigan. Strength of schedule, USC and Michigan are like just a few spots away from each other. So, and the remaining strength of schedule, Michigan's at a 20, USC's at 27. So they're pretty close, ultimately. So one loss here or there could definitely make a difference. We'll have to see what kind of new metrics the College Football Playoff Committee is doing. And remember, on Tuesday, they're coming out, and it's not just the 12.
Because we don't know what they are. We just know the SEC endorsed them.
Correct.
Yep. Tempest says Jim Phillips is a brown nose. That's not true. Jim Phillips is so far up Notre Dame's ass he could tell you what they had for breakfast. In fact, if you've ever seen the show South Park, the Lemmy Winks episode, that is Jim Phillips. That is how far up the ass he is of Notre Dame. Numbskull News is in the house. Good to see you, Numbskull News. Everybody check out Numbskull News, one of the funniest YouTubers here on YouTube. USC plays Oregon. That's a no. That's kind of an elimination game, yeah.
Oh, I have a question for you guys then. Did anybody see Oregon play Wisconsin at home?
I did.
Are you so sure that team who barely beat Wisconsin at home, favored by 30 and beaten by 14? Did anybody see Indiana come into Oregon? Like, I think Oregon's a good team. I'm just saying, I don't know how it's like, there's no way that could happen kind of thing about USC playing against Oregon.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just saying that is an elimination game, essentially.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not saying it's easy for USC. I don't believe in Lincoln Riley, generally, right, until proven otherwise. But I think to say that the number 19 school going into the number 6 school, who just at home only beat Wisconsin, favored by 30 by 14, is how could that happen as a scenario? I don't think it's remotely that case. I don't think it's likely. I think it's chalk that Oregon wins at home. They have a home field advantage. But would you be surprised? Would you be stunned? Would your headline be stunned, other than for clicks, if USC beat Oregon?
Stunned. Even Iowa has a chance at the CFP if they win out. A lot of people have a chance at the CFP. A lot of people are still in it. And that's kind of what it makes
plus,
this.
I think, that have over a 2% chance.
And that's kind of what makes November exciting now. They said that it would take the excitement out of college football. I think it's just put more excitement in. Indiana is special this year. I would be stunned. A 2-loss Oregon gets in. Again, I think, and this is going to piss people off, but brands are going to be weighted. They are going to weigh brands. And Oregon, a 2-loss Oregon, a 3-loss Notre Dame, those brands.
They'll be very thankful. Oregon will be very thankful. If you're Oregon, you better. I know this is something you don't want to say. You should keep rooting for Washington to keep winning. Because your Penn State win isn't that good anymore, right? It was good at the time. I'm not taking it away. Going into Penn State is always hard, but it's not as good anymore. The best win right now on Oregon's schedule on paper, if I'm not mistaken, as I'm trying to look real quick, is beating Washington.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking and scrolling, so I could have things wrong. So give me a second here. This stupid Google one is bad. So I take back everything I said for a second.
ACC gets one. Their brands have crapped the bed. I think, well, again, I mean, that's what you got to look at it as. If you consider Notre Dame ACC, then you get 2.
Yeah,
because apparently they're
weeks ago-
considered ACC and everything except.
But 3 weeks ago, ACC looked like they were getting 3, and it took like 1 or 2 weeks for
Yes.
that to change. And in 1 or 2 weeks, everything can change. Right now, the Big 12 is in a much better position. I reinstate everything I said with Oregon. What I was saying was accurate. But I think in Oregon is probably getting in as a 2-loss team. But their best win is Washington on paper right now. We'll have to see how the playoff committee ranks them overall this coming week. I think Washington probably might be higher for the playoff committee than they are in the AP, so that's a good thing for Oregon for sure. But you are going to get to a place where there's a bunch of 2-loss teams, and who's got the worst losses but who also has the best wins is definitely a possibility for sure.
And who has the biggest brand?
And who has the biggest brand? And you can look at it shouldn't be, but TV, you can look and see the TV ratings and no, it shouldn't be that way.
Ask TCU and Baylor about that. Ohio State was a bigger brand. They got in. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about conference realignment. I don't know if you guys caught Greg's show last week. He brought it up. Ohio State is now in the catbird seat when it comes to college conference realignment with the Big Ten. Their say goes, they didn't fuck over the rest of the Big Ten. They moved mountains. They placated people. They did everything possible to get that public capital deal through to benefit every political grandstanders and put themselves out there to try and increase their own political advantages and positions within the state of Michigan. That's absolutely fine. In doing so, they have alienated Michigan as an ally of Wisconsin. They've alienated Michigan from Minnesota. They've alienated Michigan from Michigan State. All those schools were depending on some of that capital income to future-proof. As a result, Ohio State is now everybody's friend. Everybody likes Ohio State because, I just want to put this out here, Ohio State is the brand in the Big Ten. Sorry, Michigan. You know it's true. We've been carrying this conference's water for the last 25 years. Does anybody want to argue with me on it? Because I'm going to tell you, you can't. You look at the numbers. You look who's got the most national championships. You look who's brought the most money into this conference over the last quarter of a century. It's Ohio State. And Ohio State said, okay, we will sign the grant of rights and go to 2046. This is who we want to be with. We want to be with these 17 schools and anybody else that we pick up along the way. And we'll be with you guys till 2046. Michigan said no. Michigan said no, and USC said no after they talked to Michigan.
How much blame do you put on Michigan's really saying no or being caught in a weird spot because they're in between presidents? Or do you think they would have done it either way?
Michigan carried some water. They did not carry the amount of water They did not carry the amount of water that Ohio State carried for the conference. They didn't. They didn't. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying that everybody didn't contribute, because everybody did, and everybody contributes in their own way. And we've talked about this, about the equality in the Big Ten. And yes, this new public capital deal, you would be going with a tiered system, and Ohio State would get more. But listen, man, Ohio State has consistently been a champion of the Big Ten for the last 25 years. And they moved heaven and earth to get this deal done. And yes, it benefits Ohio State. I'm not saying it doesn't benefit Ohio. Guess what? It benefits Michigan too. But you know who it benefited? Wisconsin. It benefited Minnesota. It benefited Maryland. It benefited Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois. All those teams that people consider mid-tier and low-tier, and they don't bring enough to the... Those are who benefits most from this. They benefited the most, and they got told, you don't matter, because there's 2 or 3 people in the Michigan administration, or not even in the Michigan administration, in the Michigan political sphere, who want to derail it. And you've alienated an entire alliance that has been, you've pissed off allies. Ryan Willie with the $5 super chat. I wanted Wisconsin to lose by 30 to Oregon to pressure boosters to the AD to fire Fickell, hoping Washington and Indiana blows out Wisconsin. Good luck, man. I don't know, Ryan. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I guess Luke Fickell just goes in there and tells them.
The most rewarding part was when he gave me my money.
Because he's obviously getting paid to not coach. Because it's a shit show. Here, send me your address. I'll send you the shit show supervisor hat. You can wear it to the next Wisconsin game.
From a distance, it just seems to me, Ryan, and obviously way better, you're following it, that you could get rid of Luke, but if you don't get rid of your athletic director, it doesn't matter.
That's true. Iowa's completely complimentary football in the CFP will feel like a burly cellmate, both nurturer and bodyguard, who asks if it hurts but keeps going anyways. Jack Cobra Cat, man. Whew.
Wow, that's like
your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Man, I don't even.
I think Jacobra Cat's been watching way too much Oz. Yeah.
That's wild. That's great.
But
I'll have to rewatch that later just because it's funny enough.
Thank you, Ryan Willie, and thank you, Jacobra Cat, for the super chats. But yeah, I mean, this is the situation that we're in now. Conference realignment is going to run through Ohio State, and Ohio State has 5 candidates: Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Stanford.
Moen, I can't even get excited about that.
That's
anymore.
who it is. Ted Carter, the president of Nebraska, who was, well, at least you won't have to try and win an ACC title anymore.
But I've been through like 7 versions of Miami's on the top of the list and Miami's out at this point. So
yes, I
just
hear you.
can't
I hear you, and it's a fluid situation. Conference realignment's a fluid
wrong,
situation.
by the way. Like, I'm not one of those, like, your information is wrong and therefore you're wrong. I can't trust anything. That's not what I mean. I just mean it is so fluid that this has evolved so many different ways that as a Miami fan, I've just put myself aside. And, like, that's why I threw myself into the season, because I don't want to, all of these things keep going on and you're high or low and nothing has really changed other than somebody has a new piece of information and it could be very accurate at the time, right? So I don't want to get caught up into the way that Florida State fans I know have gotten burnt repeatedly by some actual information and some chameleons. Fortunately, there's no massive chameleon like, the whole guy on the Knoll site and whatever genetically messed up 56 or 65 or go F yourself, whatever his handle is, in the Miami sphere. So I take it all with a grain of salt. It's like, it's interesting to hear. I don't doubt that it's wrong. It sounds very plausible, right? Because you win friends and stuff like that, and they only need a certain amount of votes.
And Ohio State has them, by the way. Ohio State can get a 3/4 vote across the Big Ten for anything right now. They've got the votes. They don't need 5 schools. There's 5 schools they can say, we don't need your vote. Now, will those schools vote probably for who Ohio State picks? Probably. Go Black 45 asks, who does Ohio State really, really want in the Big Ten as of now? Virginia and North Carolina. Those guys are still going to be the top 2 candidates regardless. And that's for both conferences. After that, Stanford. And it's obvious why. Stanford brings a huge academic checkbook with them if they were to join the Big Ten Academic Alliance. Now, I will say this. I don't think North Carolina and Virginia are available. I think they bolt for the SEC. I don't think Stanford had an opportunity to come to the Big Ten, and they didn't want to leave the Ivy League public library system. So I don't think Stanford is. I really, if you're, and I'll make it a public file, check out the big money markets. Look at the financial research I've done for both the city of Atlanta and the city of Miami and Dallas Fort Worth for that matter. There are massive billions, hundreds of billions of dollars flowing through those cities right now. They're both AAU schools. They're day one Big Ten. You don't have to worry about them losing AAU. Miami's done more to improve it. They're opening a new ophthalmologist center in Abu Dhabi.
$2 billion worth.
$2 billion worth. That's going to boost their medical research through the AAU still. So I don't think either one of those is in any position to lose AAU status like Nebraska did, which, Ted Carter was the former president of Nebraska, and this was his cause de celebrite, was to get Nebraska back into the AAU before he left for the Ohio State job. And that's continued to be one of his cause de celebrités, AAU, AAU, AAU. I don't think they want any schools that are close to AAU, a school that might get AAU, a school, if they politicked enough, they could get them over the line to AAU. I think they want a school that's an AAU right away. I think that's what trips up TCU and SMU and Dallas Fort Worth, because Dallas Fort Worth is an extremely viable market too. That whole Dallas Fort Worth, Arlington, little metropolitan area is huge money wise, but fucking Atlanta, man, the financials for Atlanta, it's like 750 billion GDP every year. It's 2% of America's GDP. And you say, well, 2% isn't a lot, but you think of all the cities that exist in the United States of America, how many of them do you think are out there putting out percentages of GDP? Most of them are putting out percentiles, 0.1% of GDP. 1/100% of GDP. Atlanta's putting out 2%. Media, satellites run through the city of Atlanta. It is the jewel of the South. Sherman told Lincoln at one point, I present you ours. That still means something. Atlanta is still the jewel of the South. I get it. Georgia Tech is not a great football candidate, although they have legitimately this year performed very well up until this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see if they can hold on to Brent Key. But it's just a money thing. It's a money thing. It's an academics thing. I think Miami and Atlanta have too much money running through them right now for Ohio State to take anybody else.
Plus, you
their academic fits.
The Miami president ran Deloitte, so he's wired in ways that almost nobody else at the president level is in the Big Ten, just by definition of what his career was before he became the president.
Numbskull News says SEC owns Atlanta. Also, SEC owns Dallas-Fort Worth. SEC owns a lot of markets, but it's still about planting your flag there. It's still about getting a foothold there in the Southeast for them. It's about adding a new market to the Big Ten. You've added West Coast schools. Do you go back out west? Well, if you can get Stanford, you go out west. If you can't get Stanford, let's plant our flag somewhere we're not at yet. So that leaves Dallas-Fort Worth, that leaves Atlanta, that leaves Miami. Or assuming Virginia and North Carolina still are in play somehow, you go there. But otherwise, it leaves you Atlanta, it leaves you Miami. Please go take a look at the video. If not, like I said, in a few weeks, I'll make it public. So if you're not a member, you can check it out. But if you are a member, go check it out. I've done the financials on it. There's just too much money there. And they want new markets, and they'd love to get into Atlanta. They'd love to get into Miami. Miami has the benefit of being a private school. They don't have to get all caught up in state politics like we've seen with LSU and Florida. They don't have to get involved in that. So I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Moan, let me throw this one up here.
Yeah.
For Pitt Snipes Husker, Miami's starting med campuses in Abu Dhabi, but Nebraska lost AAU status because their med center is 60 miles down the road. It's a completely different situations in this case, right? Miami has the number one eye hospital in America. Like, that's the Bomber is the number one. It's been ranked that way for over 20 years. It's literally in downtown Miami. If you drive down the 95, you'll see the sign over to your right, especially if you're close to where the Marlins play baseball. They are adding another medical hospital in another country and getting a ton of money for the hospital. It's not like they're starting their medical campus in Saudi Arabia and don't have one. They literally have multiple hospitals in downtown Miami for different specialties, including helping run the one that serves the city itself for people who, are in government-related funding for their health care.
Here's the thing, Pitt Snipe Husker. One, I agree with you. I think it's stupid. Nebraska has their medical campus where, right. Nebraska has their medical campus where it's going to help the most people in Omaha. Difference is that research that they do at Nebraska, that still counts towards Nebraska's research. Nebraska does triple the research that Oregon does.
Right.
And they're not AAU.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but it is what it is. The AAU wants actual medical training schools on campuses. This is a satellite campus, I guess you would call it, an international satellite campus, but that's another reason for wanting to go to Miami, international markets. It opens a gateway to the Caribbean. It opens a gateway now to the Middle East. You've got a lot of multicultural things that are running through there, multinational things that are running through there. It's money. It's money. It's money. It's all about the money. Yes, these are great academic schools, but at the end of the day, money, money, money. And there you go. It's all about the money.
All of these guys are freaking out about not getting the same type of investment and funding from government grants and research right now.
Well, that's why it's great that you have medical schools that get medical research grants from people like Pfizer and Eli Lilly and every pharmaceutical company that's out there advertising every other commercial during college football games. That's one of the reasons Stanford doesn't want to join the Big Ten Academic Alliance. They don't want to share. But if they did want to share, the Big Ten is all for it. They're all for it. So we're just going to leave it at that. Let's go ahead and do our last call. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. All right, Brock, what's your last call for the evening?
Go out and buy Charmin, buy some plastic tarps, because the shit show we're going to see on Tuesday night when the college football playoff committee comes out, and the shining and the spin jobs that are going to happen are going to get you dirty. So just be ready and don't let yourself fall into the trap of getting clowned or owned. But also don't just dismiss out of hand teams that are playing better and have the records to justify it. Like, just because you're in the SEC and they get a lot doesn't mean that a lot of SEC teams shouldn't be highly ranked, but it doesn't mean they all should be highly ranked. We'll see what happens. I think there are going to be a few surprises, and because we don't truly know the metrics. So, just get yourself some cover. Make sure you don't get caught up in it. Don't freak out too much because it's only 1 week away from changing.
My last call, why don't we get a super chat for Jacober Cat? Nebraska hospitals are perfect for treating lame horses. I didn't say it. Jacober Cat said it. By the way, Jacober Cat, here's a sound.
Men, there's a little crippled boy sitting in a hospital who wants you to win this game. I know because I crippled him myself to inspire you.
There you go. My last call is there are no such things as gimme games.
0.
We're in November. There are no gimme games. Do not overlook certain teams. I think Michigan got caught a little flat-footed at Purdue, and I think it almost cost them. Ohio State, you cannot get caught flat-footed. No gimme games. You got to prepare for every game, fight for every game, win every game.
Can we say? Can I give a caveat to that though?
Sure.
Except for a few teams in the SEC the week before rivalry week.
True. That's true.
Because can we say that Eastern Illinois heading to Alabama is probably a gimme game, even in their worst case scenario?
But let's also give them this: the SEC did agree to move to 9 conference games moving forward, and they did agree to a 10th
Eastern Illinois. I have zero problem with Alabama having a cupcake on their schedule. I have a massive problem with a few schools having that in week next to last. It's almost like a safety
before
zone,
rivalry week,
right? Where everybody else can trip up and have no recovery time. They should have. That's my issue. It's not that they're not playing strong teams. It's not that they're not adding a 9th conference game. It's that game for a few schools in the Southeastern Conference is an aberration and lets others trip up where they will not and have no recovery time for the last game. That's my issue.
All right. No gimme games. Remember that. Check out tomorrow. Nate's doing a special Bombers Blitz going over the past week, and then he's doing a show on Tuesday that's going to run simultaneous with the College Football Playoff Selection Committee picks. So check that out. I will see you guys on Wednesday for the take. New Moen Confidential drops this Thursday, looking at the Bay Area market and West Coast markets. Did some financial numbers on those. Definitely check that out. We'll see you for the big freaking Friday show, and then back here next week for Moen After Dark. I am Moen After Dark of the College Football Mafia. He is Rock and Rant of CFB Express. Check him out at CFBX, the letter X, PRESS. Check them out on YouTube. Check them out on Twitter. Definitely check out his rant video from yesterday. It is well worth your time. For myself, for Rock and Rant, I want to say thank you to everybody, and we will catch you later.